I must say that I'm impressed. I know that they have done a very good work. It's been impressive. If we look at yesterday, it was the first day and the opening, everything was fantastic. When we look at as well all the news on the orders, it's been amazing. I think it is really showing that this region is going on the good direction, and it's going to really support a global trade and global growth of business and people connecting together. Here in terms of the air show, the location is fantastic. We've seen the facilities, it's impressive, the organization is really excellent. So I haven't been in the previous ones, but I must say that I'm very impressed with this one. So with governments, of course, we're working very closely on all aspects because, as you know, well, we represent the airlines. Governments are represented globally as well through ICAO, who is the International Civil Aviation Organization under the United Nations. And we're working always very closely in order to build strategies together on all aspects of aviation, supporting the growth, and supporting as well safety, and supporting as well the growth of human resources, because, for example, human resources is going to be one of the, let's say, big troubles for the future, because aviation is going to be growing a lot during the next few years, and we need to continue developing people that can support the growth of aviation.
During IDEX, we had a demonstrator on display, which was the semi-active long-range Al-Tariq version. I'm glad that today we can say that it's in service, and we have successfully integrated it on the Mirage. Of course, within the inventory of the Air Force, we are also looking at integrating it into other platforms that they are currently using. But today we have displayed 3 models, and that is that we are offering a GPS version, we are offering an imaging infrared version which is under development, and we hope it will be out soon. The Mirage integration has been a tremendous effort between us, the Air Force, and the Dassault team, as well as our technology partner, Denel Dynamics, to actually have this on a successful platform spread worldwide like the Mirage-9. It opens up a market for us, and we've seen through the air show that many of the Mirage operators are coming and asking more and more about the Al-Tariqs. So it's more around when can we actually deliver them, and we think we can get that.
Gump is an international law firm, large presence in Washington, D.C., with offices all around the world. It's been around since the 40s, and it's a go-to firm, particularly for government relations and national security issues. We actually have one of the deepest and largest benches in export controls. We do a lot of work for large Western OEMs. So over the years, we've developed a lot of experience sort of knowing the industry. Our practice group includes people who were former regulators, former government advisors, as well as lawyers who've been doing this for many, many years. And we work with companies who are interested in acquiring technology, who are interested in acquiring goods and know-how that are sensitive, and help them through the regulatory process of acquiring those goods. Akin Gump really took a hard look at the market and looked at where the changes were occurring in the market. And what we see is that there is a strong and growing need for expertise in this area in places like the Gulf, in places like certain parts of Asia where there's a lot of acquisition of defense hardware, there's a lot of interest in acquiring know-how. What we decided is that we need to put boots on the ground in these places to be closer to the clients, to make that investment in the long-term growth of these markets. And we're committed to being here because we believe that it actually adds a lot of value for our clients. One of the biggest misconceptions of companies wherever we find outside the United States is that the ITAR economic sanctions are really U.S. issues for U.S. companies. And that's just not the way it works. Actually, these laws apply in many cases directly to non-U.S. companies. It's all about what is the know-how, what is the hardware itself, and how do we control it. And so the real question is, for companies that are interested in acquiring that information, you got to start looking at how you navigate that system and how you get the authorizations that you need in a transparent and efficient manner. And companies that have a long-term view of that, they embrace that challenge and actually start to engage with the government. And that's where we can become very, very helpful. We've helped a lot of companies obtain very, very unique and broad high-value licenses. So the Gulf isn't just looking to buy things anymore. We want to know how to make them. We want to know how to make them well. And so that intersects very, very well with this kind of practice, because it's all about getting the exporting governments comfortable with the security situation here, getting the buyers on track in terms of what those expectations are. So we've worked a lot with companies in aerospace, in defense, to help them structure transactions in the right way, facilitate the communications with the government, and ultimately get things done in a more efficient way.
You have to start early, and you know that the United Arab Emirates leadership has been investing in education heavily, investing in events that cultivate the minds of the future. And you can see from Abu Dhabi Science Festival, you can see from Festival of Thinkers, from Education Without Borders, all these events that provide all of us from all ages opportunities to engage, to learn from one another. So when it comes to innovation, today I think you would agree that countries are not only ranked on their GDP and the other variables, but people look at countries whether they are innovation rich or innovation poor. So I like to think that the United Emirates is working very hard to making sure that we are a nation that is rich in innovation, rich in its push for the young minds to excel.
Well, one thing I would like to talk about, which is the imaging infrared. We hope it's going to be in service by then. But of course, we're focusing on a platform. This system is not successful as a weapon alone. I mean, it goes part of a system, which is an aircraft and a Tariq. So we would like to have more and more platforms. Integration works. And we hope we can announce more platforms. It's not a company and an OEM of a platform. It doesn't work this way. It's actually more driven by the client. So if the client would like to have a certain system on an aircraft, there will be a tremendous effort being placed by them. And the only thing we can do is support. I don't think that OEMs see this as a threat. In fact, it's more to build up business cases. If people would like to buy the weapon, it means there is integration, then there is business. I think every OEM is keen to go through this. And they've been doing it for some time, so it's not something strange on them. We have our challenges. There is a challenge. It's actually how you identify a challenge and try to work on it. So I'm not saying we're perfect. I'm saying we're heading to a target. So the team and myself are focused, whether it's on a company level or the shareholder level or even a user level. And it takes a collaborative approach to get to that. I mean, it doesn't take a one-man show to do that. So it is a full team effort.
It's very interesting because in the past we've had strategic partnerships that seem to be based on one or two countries, mostly in the region. And these countries were extraterritorial in the sense they were coming from the US or from the UK. But there are many other strategic partnerships that are beginning to emerge in the region. I think that's really important for the marketplace. It brings in other countries like Russia, China, Brazil, South Africa, and so on. I think that's important because it makes the business environment more dynamic and offers more choice to the states of the Gulf littoral as we move forward into the latter part of this decade. First of all, we have to understand that the three of the four BRIC countries, particularly Brazil, Russia, and China, are deeply involved in the Gulf defense market. And they're growing because they're recognizing that there is these opportunities about Gulf defense capabilities. Underneath each of these state companies, if you will, in these countries, they have subsidiaries that specialize in particular types of equipment. At the same time, you have on the receiving end, within the GCC states, companies that want to partner up with these BRIC countries and form new businesses that create also offsets. And that's very important to the development of the region in terms of knowledge management as well as also producing viable goods for export from the region as some of these countries move towards indigenous defense exports.
طبعا احنا سعيدين بمشاركتنا في دبي معرض طيران دبي 2013 ونحن فخورين بهذه المشاركة. طبعا شاركنا في هذا العام حتى نبرز التطور التعليمي اللي صار عندنا في دولة الإمارات بدعم من قيادتنا الرشيدة. مشاركتنا جاءت في عدة مجالات، طبعا المشاركة بمنصة الوزارة. حاولنا أيضا في هذه المشاركة أن نبرز مشاريع الطلبة وكيف أن طلبتنا استطاعوا أن يصمموا مشاريع ويطوعوا الروبوت في مجال خدمة الطيران وأيضا في المجال العسكري، مشاريع مميزة لاقت استحسان الزائرين واستحسان الحضور. وأيضا عندنا مشاركة بحيث أن احنا عندنا غدا يوم الثلاثاء 19 نوفمبر في زيارة ل 200 طالب من طلاب وزارة التربية والتعليم لحاملة الطائرات. بالإضافة إلى يوم الخميس سيتم إطلاق فيوتشر داي أو يوم المستقبل بيصادف 21 نوفمبر، بيكون تحت رعاية معالي وزير التربية والتعليم. سنستقطب أيضا في هذا المشروع 500 طالب يقومون بزيارة المعرض أيضا يطلعوا ويكون فرصة للقاء الشركات الوطنية التي ممكن أن تدعم الطلاب، وأيضا فرصة لهم للاطلاع على التطور الحادث في العالم في مجال الطيران المدني أو الطيران العسكري وعلى التطور التكنولوجي الكبير اللي حاصل. أيضا هذه المشاركة ستفتح آفاق كبيرة للطلبة للاطلاع على طبعا هذا التطور، وتفتح لهم آفاق في تساعدهم في رسم خارطة طريق لهم وتحديد أهدافهم في مجال التعليم العالي وفي مجال التعليم المهني، وشو بتكون اختياراتهم ما بعد التعليم العام واختياراتهم المستقبلية سواء المهنية أو التعليمية.
We could say that here the Gulf has a natural position in the world that is fantastic, because it is really the center of the world, connecting Asia and Europe. Basically, the Gulf is very lucky to be in this position in the world. On top of that, we could say that there has been a very strong support from the government, because they have really understood the value of aviation for the economy. So here for the UAE, just to give you some insights, aviation is supporting 14% of the GDP of the UAE, because of course aviation brings people, it brings tourism, it brings business, and therefore the better support you get from the government in terms of understanding the value of the aviation, in terms of supporting as well with lower charges to fly, the better it goes for the country as a whole.
Gump has been around since the 1940s. It's a large international law firm It's most well known for government relations and national security issues. It's on the top of everybody's list in that space. We have the deepest and largest bench, or certainly one of the deepest and largest in export control, ITAR, and government relations that are very important in the aerospace sector. Our client base ranges from aerospace MROs to OEMs to governments and embassies and capitals around the world. So we have kind of a broad perspective on issues that affect this industry. We have a very unique position here because we are a presence with expertise in ITAR and export control work. The reason we do that is we see a lot of great things happening here, a couple in particular. One, this is probably the most important regional market in the world for aerospace and defense. And two, if you think about the economic vision of this place, it's all about knowledge transfer of know-how and capabilities. You have the customers here in the Gulf who are looking to acquire knowledge and know-how, and the supplier, the Western counterpart, is not just doing it because of offsets or other obligations that they may have, but they're seeing an opportunity in terms of their supply chain to locate sources of production here and work closely with partners here. And part of our role is sort of bringing the two parties together to see what those opportunities are and to see how that can happen in a way that is consistent with the government's needs and expectations. Most of my time is spent working with companies in the aerospace sector, defense sector, and national security sector, and that's an expanding area of interest, particularly here in the Gulf. One of the areas is cybersecurity, where we're seeing a lot more activity. Particularly right now, there are a lot of cybersecurity threats that impact companies in the private sector. The government obviously has an interest in protecting its economy as well, and so there's a lot of interest in that space. There's a lot of interest in developing a regulatory framework around that space. There's some activity in the United States in that area as well. So we help companies sort of bridge the gap, anticipate what's coming down the road, as well as work with governments on regulatory issues in that space. This is a tricky area, and it's also an evolving area right now. And so one of the things that we're seeing in the United States is the notion of public-private partnerships. So the government can't do everything on its own in this space, and so a lot of it is about creating standards. So for governments in the GCC, it's about sort of establishing standards, preparedness standards, communication standards, and trying to draw in industry about how the two work together to establish a secure cyber environment. It's all about investing, and it's all about sort of being closer to the client. It's a tremendous advantage to our clients to have a presence here where we can get to know their issues. We believe that there's great value in sort of complementing those capabilities with national security expertise where the deals are happening, and this is certainly a hotspot of that activity. And our long-term view is commitment to this region. We see growth in the market, we see growth in aerospace and defense in general, and we want to be there with our clients as they grow. And we know that making the investment here will have long-term benefits for all of us.